Young, and he is from Nintendo. I feel like food is in a lot of Nintendo games.
Yeah.
We'll just assume that Mario ingests the mushroom. I mean, Link has got his special milk, which I believe is unpasteurized, which I think makes Link the first hipster.
Probably so, yeah, okay.
Are there foodies at Nintendo?
The great thing about the folks at Nintendo America is that a lot of us are into Japanese food. You know, we like sushi and sashimi and sukiyaki, and kind of an interesting thing is sometimes when developers and executives from Japan come to visit us, sometimes the first thing they want to do is have a good old American burger. So there's really some great cross-cultural food sharing.
Are we kids or are we squid?
You work in video games, I work in food. This is going to be a little bit weird, but it's not so much of a stretch thanks to a game called Splatoon. Now, I'm obsessed with Splatoon. I could wax on and on and on about it. What would you say in just a couple sentences is Splatoon?
Splatoon is an online shooter type of game where you're playing 4 versus 4, and the goal of the game is to cover the territory, cover the stage in your own color ink, while the other team, the opposing team, is trying to do the same thing with their color ink.
Okay, first off, you turn on this game, and you're greeted by the Squid Sisters.
Yeah.
And the Squid Sisters are named Callie and Marie. Callie Marie.
Calamari.
You start out with that, and you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. Then you see that your levels are named things like Bluefin tuna, Bluefin Depot.
Yeah.
You go to buy gear for your cute characters, and you go to Bouillabaisse.
Right.
Is there a hidden agenda in Splatoon to just get us jazzed about eating seafood?
Well, I think a lot of it came from the mechanics. You know, most games that Nintendo makes, they start out with the mechanics and figure out what's fun, and it really sort of morphed. Originally, it was just sort of square blobs that the developers described as tofu. And then they were kind of deciding, okay, well, tofu shooting ink is maybe not that exciting, and they kind of morphed into, well, it's ink, so it should be squids. And then everything just sort of built from that.
Are we kids or are we squid?
So this is a game about squids. It was made in Japan.
Right.
In Japan, squid is like an everyday occurrence. You get squid on the street like we get hot dogs on the street. How would you feel about a squid dish that celebrates the two most celebrated characters in Splatoon, Callie and Marie?
Yeah, why not?
So for this very special occasion, I have a special chef hat.
Okay, let's see it. Oh, that's perfect.
Right?
Squid hat.
So we have this big squid. We're gonna talk about its parts. And knowing about its parts will help us figure out where we need to do some cutting in order to make it good for the eating. So the squid has 3 main parts. The tentacles, you have the body, which is right here, and then you have the tube. So the first thing that we do is we separate the body from the tube. All you have to do, and it's very simple, is you kind of reach up here, pull here, and it just comes right out. You want to be kind of gentle because there are, you guessed it, ink sacs. To me, the most exciting part of taking down a squid is the quill. And now the quill runs through the back of the squid, and you can kind of feel it inside it, and you just pull it out. Crazy, right?
That is pretty wild.
Nature would make something totally translucent as a backbone. So I'm going to go down to this part here now. That is its mouth right there. And if you look, that's a freaking beak, man.
Oh yeah.
That is not a joke.
That's sharp.
You press on it,
Oh, pops
and it
right
pops
out.
right out.
Huh.
So then after you remove that beak, you just make a cut right above the tentacles and below the eyes. Nice and clean. So now what we're left with is this beautiful little star. So I'm gonna fry this version of squid, and I'm gonna prepare this version of squid for Marie. It's gonna be a little bit on the lighter side. So we're gonna start by just slicing this guy into rings. I'm basically making the standard fare calamari, but I'm making it with a bigger squid. We're gonna make a huge amount of it, and it's gonna cost us about $2.50.
Nice.
And then this gets a quick toss in here, just like we're at the local sports bar. Some white cornmeal, AP flour.
It's your good old-fashioned squid fry.
That is not your average calamari, is it?
That's beautiful.
Right? It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Pretty squiddy.
Pretty squiddy. You're so good. So I'm just gonna let this drain for a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna make another dish, this time inspired by the colors of Callie. A classic Japanese dish called the okonomiyaki. And the okonomiyaki is kind of like a savory pancake. I promise you, it'll be delicious.
Great.
This is AP flour. Nothing special about it. It starts to get a little crazy when we get into this guy.
What is that?
So this is the Japanese Mountain Yam, also known literally as the Yama, mountain, emo. This gives this starch and the glue and a very distinct texture. Squid is downright tame compared to this thing. Brace yourself, it gets weird. You can see it just kind of liquefies. I mean, at this point it looks like, what, glue?
That's pretty goopy.
Yeah, weird, right?
That is weird.
So this works as kind of like nature's thickener. Maybe about a quarter cup or so. And then this is Squid Ink. And what Squid Ink does is gives sort of like a darker, richer, certain minerality that I can only really describe as like a little charred, a little volcanic. And so this is enough Squid Ink to really heavily pigment something. So we're gonna put that in with our fish stock. I'm gonna stir that up in there, and there you can see the power.
Oh yeah. So we're ready for some turf war.
Yeah, we are ready for some turf
so,
war.
right?
You're totally right. I'm just gonna put this in a water gun and go out in the front yard. So check it out. Without the yami imo, from here I could add egg yolks to this, roll it out, and I would have Squid Ink pasta. Something very Italian. But here I'm going to make this into a big fat pancake. We're gonna let this sit, and the yami imo is gonna react with the flour and the water, and it's gonna make this really interesting like starch and gluten matrix, which gives the okonomiyaki its like very distinct texture. So I'm gonna retire this to the fridge. We're gonna work on our other squid component. This is really simple, and this is all you have to do to grill a squid at home. A healthy dose of salt. I'm gonna do that on both sides. Put it on the grill.
Doesn't get any easier than that.
Right? While the squid is grilling, I'm gonna begin on the pancake portion of the project. 4 eggs. Eggs are basically just gonna add some structure. Looks pretty fun, right?
It looks pretty fun.
Purple cabbage. And this will add a huge bump of texture on the inside of the pancake.
Oh yeah.
Because this game is so artfully done, I want to try and do some like nice artful presentation. First we'll work with Marie's dish, and since she is so thematically green, I have lots of green things. So this is basically like guacamole, fresh wasabi, which is very cool.
You know, I've never seen fresh wasabi.
It's a little sweeter and a little less mustardy than the stuff you might see on the side of your average sushi plate. Let's add our calamari. Now, shiso, one of my favorite leaves. The flavor to me is somewhere between mint, basil, and air freshener. My feelings for Marie on a plate.
Oh, it's lovely.
All right, well, let's make the next one, then we'll see how it goes. So this is ume paste. Ume is a salty plum. It starts intensely sour, then gets really salty, then gets really sweet.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely not okonomiyaki without Japanese mayo. So these are bonito flakes, fish flakes.
Wow.
The Cali dish. Both are entirely inspired by Splatoon.
Oh, so good. I see what you mean by that dark flavor of the pancake.
Yeah,
the Squid
right?
Ink is interesting.
Yeah, it gives it this like sort of richer, sort of sea floor taste to things. This to me is finger food.
That's the best calamari I've ever had. I mean, thank you.
Gosh, thanks for coming here. I'm kind of like fanboy status right now.
It's been fun. I've had a great time. All I can say is stay fresh.
Stay fresh!